You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily. An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. WildEarth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, WildEarth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. WildEarth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle, and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
Why is the Mara special? It's one of the only few places that you can find the annual wildebeest migration. I will still go for the lion. The main reason is a sign of royalty, leadership in my tribe, and apart from that, over here, it is feared by all but loved by everyone.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Good morning, everyone. We are just admiring the dramatic skies, the heart of the solar system, the largest object that we can see, holding about 99.8% of the solar system's mass. Yes, that is the sun, and it's going to pop up over these clouds very soon, and we're in for a glorious day here at Djuma Private Game Reserve. So everyone, with the sun rising, that means it's the start of your live safari through the African bush. Isn't that beautiful? I think we have some elephants off in the distance as well. Simon spotted them. Yes, would you look at that, just in the distance, those big grey bodies. Probably enjoying the fact that the sun is starting to rise, providing light and a little bit of warmth. My name is Lauren. I do have Simon on camera today, and I think we're just going to admire this scene a little bit longer before we bumble and assist everyone in looking for tracks. There's female tracks, male tracks being seen for leopards, and I am guessing it's Hukumuni and Shadulu. So everyone's working that area, and I, of course, will assist. It's a very, very pleasant morning, 23 degrees Celsius and 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I imagine it's only going to get warmer and warmer as the day goes on. Isn't that glorious? Now, as I already mentioned, this is your live safari. We do this for you. So what you have to do for us is to talk to us. Send in your comments, questions, whatever you wish. When we're driving, send in some discussion topics. We are more than happy to hear them. And how do you do that? Well, you use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. You can use @FC Final Control on the YouTube chat stream. Or you can head over to wildearth.tv/explorers. And if you are a child, please do talk to us. You guys are the future. You send in your questions via email, because we prioritize them. And the email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. We very much look forward to hearing from you. I'm just trying to figure out exactly where these elephants are. Maybe we can drive around and see them. But I'm not sure exactly. But I think we're going to do a big loop round and see if we can catch up with this herd. So from one large animal, we're going to send you across to Grant with his giraffe to say good morning.
Good morning everyone, and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. Hope you enjoyed that sunrise with Lauren. We've got a big sky here with some giraffe lying down and just a few rays of sun poking through the clouds there, and the giraffe still resting and ruminating. So my name is Grant, and behind the camera is Owen, and on our way to go and check if that leopard was still in the tree with the Impala kill, we managed to spot these giraffes just lying down resting and chewing the cud. There were actually three, and one of them has had enough. He's stood up and wandered off into the distance. But these other two are still just resting, ruminating, and I think enjoying the spot that they found in the long grass over there. It's a beautiful scene with those rays of sun coming through, and Owen was saying it almost looks like a little umbrella that's shining down over those giraffes. The ox picker's starting to... I agree, Annalise. It is a beautiful sky at the moment. Agreed, Matt? Copy, thanks. So it sounds as though that that leopard that we were going to go and have a look for, she is still in the same place. And with that Impala kill, I'm not too sure how much is left, but that'll be our plan from here. We're just enjoying the scene at the moment. The oxpecker's really getting involved there. It's going in and around that giraffe's eye, also into the ear. So I think while these giraffe rest, we are going to carry on in the direction of that female leopard, and I'm going to send you across to JP, who's at a dam or at a watering hole.
Good morning and welcome to Tswalu. At the moment, we're just soaking up the scenery and indulging in a little bit of early morning birding before we're going to head off to the backyard foxes. My name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera, we've got Davi. At the moment, we've got a red-knob coot that has come to visit on the pan, which is a bird that we don't often see in the Kalahari. However, in the wetter eastern half of South Africa, they can be quite numerous, sometimes forming groups of up to 1,000 birds on the open water bodies. We've also got some Egyptian geese that's making their way around. The These birds often form pairs and they will mate for a prolonged period of time or for life, that they will stick together. Generally, we find that monogamy is quite a common practice amongst birds. However, 1% of all of the birds, 9% of all bird species in the world will actually be practicing different strategies where the male will have a number of different females. What we also find is that 1% of all the world's bird species will practice another strategy where a single female will have a number of different males which she will mate with. Quite often these females will then dump their eggs with the male, and the males will be responsible, in that case, for raising the young. Inside the breeding season for the Egyptian geese, it's quite common to see them in single groups. However, when they stop breeding and they're actually molting, they can form flocks of up to a few thousand birds. We're going to link you over now to Andrew, who is currently viewing some Impala.
Good day, good morning everybody. Here in Djuma Game Reserve this morning, where we are begin our game drive with just a 2 Impala, looks like with a 5, and looks like the 3 ran across to the north. My name is Andrew on camera. I have Marcel this morning, so we begin the drive now here at Gari Dam, where was also a visual of the elephants in this area, where they might actually come to the pans here while we're around. They were just in the river a bit, feeding. And this Impala, they were actually showing very much of looking around, worried too much. Maybe because the elephants are all moving in this way, that way, then they make a lot of noises. So they're kind of like still so confused. Well, the temperature for the day is 23 degrees, 74 Fahrenheit, which is, I believe, it's still all right for cats and that. Grass is still due and fresh for all grazer and browsers to carry on, do their best or feed. Remember to talk to us on kids' questions at WildEarth.tv, also on tag WildEarth at SFC, it's a YouTube channel, also on WildEarth.tv/an explorer. Oh, now we got our elephants coming to the beautiful open area here. Look at this. What an amazing sighting to begin with. And we actually heard making a lot of noises in this area. When I begin to drive, I check around Gari Dam. They thought they might come out that side, but then no. Well, they came to Galago Pen right now. All females love traveling in herds, but it's actually a young bull that we see right close to us here. Looks like it's quite actually, maybe it's the elephant we saw maybe yesterday, I believe so, and the morning game drive, or could be the difference because it's a lot of herds of elephants, moving in and out of this area, coming from either west or south, across to the north, or north to the south, east into Kruger Park. See next, yes, indeed. It's very much. I would also, I was so surprised when I get here, and then all of a sudden, when we looking at the Impalas and they all show up, all you hear is just a movement, through grasses. Remember, they don't actually make a lot of, footstep that you can hear, because they then, you know, underneath of these animals' legs, it's very, very a thick muscle which provide a harder sponge. So when they move silent. So you hardly to hear them. It is an excitement, really. You know, it looks like all the sun is penetrating now out. You can see all of them already receiving the sunshine from the east. So, well, I'm going to spend time checking around here, but I'm going to be sending you over Lauren with her elephant.
Well, we found our elephants. Actually, Simon found them. He's very good at spotting these large animals. For some reason, I am not. I can spot the tiniest little insect, but I'll drive right past elephants. Not ideal. But I think this is the herd we were looking at off in the distance. So we just did a great big loop, looked for tracks, no signs. And for those of you that know Djuma, apologies if you don't, Zoe's Road is a very long road. It takes you sort of from our camp almost right down to the southern boundary. And it used to be so productive. It used to be one of the core sort of territorial roads that Hukumuri would use. Shudulu always used it. Tingana used it. But for some reason, the past few months, I never see a single leopard track on it. Ever since Hukumuri had his run-in with Mulwati, it's almost like this road has just disappeared from existence for the leopards. Never see a single track. And what's a little bit frustrating is the lack of signs of Mulwati. From what I can gather, Mulwati's territory just appears to be huge, but I never see a single track. I think this leopard flies. I think that is the solution. That's the answer. Mulwati flies. He's got spotted wings and off he goes. But back to the elephants. I think this is quite a large herd and they're only just starting to pop out. We're not too far away from Treehouse, so they may go for their morning drink. Although it's not too hot, we're probably not going to go swimming. Elephants require a lot of water, and this is for digestion. Spas, good to hear from you. Not just from the tail, but you do have to pay attention to... This is really not great views, is it? Sorry, Simon. Let's go forward. We're looking at bum shots. You look at a number of things when it comes to an elephant's mood, and tail is part of that. But I wouldn't recommend just solely looking at the tail. I'm going to try and get this gap here. Does that work? So you'll look at their body posture. That's sort of number one. And an elephant that's maybe not too happy or is trying to assert its presence over you will lift its neck, raise its head. So it'll outstretch its neck. It's not got too long a neck. And this is to make itself look bigger. Then you'll look at the ears, the trunk, and the tail. Just its general behaviour. When an elephant's not too happy, the tail will stop swooshing as a fly swatter and it'll go erect. The tail will stay completely straight. It'll lift its head up to make itself look bigger. It'll put its ears out, again, to make itself look bigger. And sometimes, especially with males, I find males do this a lot more often, at least here in the Lowveld. They'll do this fake eating technique where they're pretending, they're twisting their trunk, just like this one here. Simon, this one right here on the left. On the left. There you go. It's actually twisting its trunk to pull up the grass. Now it is eating, this individual. But sometimes individuals will twist their trunk pretending that they're eating the grass, but they're not. They're not pulling at the grass and they're not putting anything into their mouth. And this is a distraction technique. This is to make you think that the elephant's behaving normally, but it's not, and it's not happy. So you've also got to look at the situation, situational awareness Are you separating a herd? Are you separating a mum and a calf by accident? Is the herd relaxed? Are you a little bit too close? Is it winter? Is it summer? You've got to sort of always be aware of your situation wherever you go. And I think yes, tails are important, but you need to look at the bigger picture. Focusing on the tail alone would probably be a mistake. So overall body language. And as humans, we are very visual animals. So reading body language is something that we do every day. We always read other humans' body language. So it's actually quite simple. Once you home in on an elephant's body language, it's really easy for humans to actually pay attention to it, as we should. So I'm going to try and keep up with this herd for a little bit longer. We're going to send you across to Grant with his lions.
So we're just going to lose a white rhino there that you might be able to make out behind those bushes there. It's turning a little bit more to the left. We've come to the spot where that leopard was last night, and she is still here, but while we were sitting and waiting, we spotted these white rhinos. There were actually 3 of them, but 2 of them have already gone behind the bush, and there's just that one left that's just busy grazing in a little open patch there. So we've parked a little bit of a distance away from the tree that the leopard is in, because we can see her from here. And we also wanted to just give you an idea of what it... Oh, there's the rhino. Rhino's gone. What it looks like, or what the leopard looks like at the moment from a distance. So that's what you would kind of be looking out for if you had to try and spot this leopard from the road. So the canopy of that tree, she once again is in the saffron. One of the trees that we've seen her in a number of different times. And with that very dense canopy, it's quite overcast this morning, so it's not too hot, but yesterday was very, very hot, and last night as well. And you'll see how her spots in the black and the white, and even that little bit of golden color, blends her into the canopy of that tree. Leah is asking which is my favorite leopard. Leah, if I had to be honest, I would say that this leopard's mother is definitely my favorite, the Nyoni female. It's definitely my favorite leopard, but we try not to choose favorites, because then we'll give them a preference, I guess. But there's just certain features and characteristics that she has that just make her extra special, I think. I've also had quite a few really amazing sightings with her. So when this leopard was a tiny little cub, we would see the Nyoni female leading this one and her sister around, and yeah, just the sort of how often we saw the Nyoni female before this leopard. She was sort of the leopard that I saw the most when I'd first started at Phinda, and so I think naturally she just becomes the one that you prefer. And this leopard, this Ntabankosi female, has now started to, well, she's not taken over, but she's definitely claiming a portion of her mother's territory. And the area is just really ideal for being able to find her. It's quite nice and open. There's some good trees, big trees for her to go up into. And so we are finding this leopard a lot more now than her mom. And she's starting to steal my heart for sure. So our leopard here is having a proper snooze. What we're going to do is we're going to see if we can try and get another view of her from a different angle, maybe a little bit closer. And we'll send you across to Rowan, who's got sleepy lions. So it's actually been quite interesting. They walked rather far. They went west and then cut south and then went back north and then came west again, then went south, and then here they are. But walked quite a distance. But we are with them. We've got the 2 Ross males. We've got the young male as well here. And then, funny enough, behind the other Ross male, behind the blonde Ross male, is the lioness with the 2 cubs, 3 cubs, one of which we saw yesterday afternoon being carried across the river. I thought she'd be spending a bit more time with the pride. So welcome, morning, and welcome to andBeyond Ngala. I'm Rowan, and behind the camera we've got BK. And yeah, we had quite a nice tracking session this morning to find this lazy bunch. 11 of which are here, so we're missing quite a number. And further east of us, there was a few Impalas alarm calling, so it could be that 1 or 2 of the lionesses are still catching up. There were none left in the riverbed, and actually this morning when Beacon and I woke up, we could hear the lions roaring. So we thought, it wouldn't be too hard to find them, but it took us quite a while. I think we did rather well. So I would guess that this is going to be their spot this morning. And it's nice and cloudy, it's not too warm. It's a bit sticky, humidity is definitely kicking in, and that's going to shape up to be a beautiful day. Sun just piercing through some of the cloud cover now. You can see we've got 1 lioness and 1 youngster there. They all look very, very comfortable. None of them have their heads up, none of them have their eyes open. I think after walking such a distance, a good time to sleep now. So yesterday afternoon when we saw the cub, it actually worked out rather well. So 3 were seen being carried across the river. There is a possibility that we missed 1, but for now we can tell you with great ease that there are definitely 3 lion cubs in that area, which is quite nice. So the pride has now grown to 21 members in total. Of course, the 2 fathers, the 2 Ross males. In front is the grumpy one, the very grumpy one, and then at the back is the less grumpy one. Kylie, good question, asking if lions sleep in the open because they fear nothing. Kylie, exactly. These are apex predators. They really don't fear anything at all. The only thing that could possibly chase them now is either a large herd of buffalo or elephants. Would make them feel uneasy and make them move. Otherwise, they just prefer the open now. It's still cool enough for them to sleep. Saying that though, we have found leopards sleeping right out in the open like this as well. Again, it gives them a vantage point to see what is around them. But I think lions sleep much more peacefully than leopards do, especially out in the open. Not too much to fear if you have this gang around you. Quite nice to see the young male still with the pride. He just does not want to leave. Even though the Ross males are giving him a hard time every now and then. He looks good though, he's in good shape. I think I had a fight with the Ross males about a week ago, but nothing too bad. So I think we actually might just let them snooze away and then head into the western part of the reserve, see if we can find any tracks or sign of wild dogs. But for now, we're going to send you to JP with a beautiful bird.
Good morning and welcome back. We just had a view of a crimson-breasted shrike over there. We're going to try and get back on team. Oh, there we go. He's being sort of cooperative for a while. Now he tends to not play along with us. So this is one of the close relatives to the southern bobo, which is a bobo that we quite commonly find in the eastern half of South Africa. So he's basically the arid equivalent. He's got these beautiful crimson-red underparts, which you will notice, and then the black upper parts and a white streak through the side of the wing. What I do find quite interesting is that these birds do form pairs, and quite often you'll hear them performing duets in the morning where the male and the female will sing together. And this basically aids in building a pair bond or strengthening the pair bond between these two individuals. One of the other birds that we do find in this area is a cuckoo species which is known as a black cuckoo, which has got a very characteristic call which sounds like "I'm so sad," and it virtually sounds like this. And he specifically comes and looks for bobos as well as crimson-breasted shrikes, as he would like to parasitize their nests. So quite often, if you do make the call, they quite quickly come and investigate, and quite often very quick to chase away the cuckoo. Just going to see if we can get him onto the screen again. There we go. Good morning, Mary. You're 100% right. They're probably one of the most colourful birds that you're going to find in the Kalahari, and they definitely add to the beauty of the environment in terms of birds and providing a little bit of splash of colour. I think if it has to come to another colourful bird that we have in this area, which we hope to find a little bit later for you, is violet-eared waxbills. In general, we find that most birds in the Kalahari is quite dull. We also find that their plumage colorations quite often are adapted to the specific soil type. By blending in with the soil type, this adds to being much more cryptically coloured and less chance that you're actually going to be seen by a potential predator. Oh, we just found some southern yellow-billed hornbills that are busy displaying as well. These are also one of my favourite birds to quite often watch, and they've also got a number of interesting strategies and relationships with other birds and animal species, especially in the eastern half of South Africa and more so in East Africa. These yellow-billed hornbills will often associate with small little dwarf mongoose. And quite often they will wake them up in the morning, force them out to go and feed. And at the same time, when they go feeding with the mongoose will disturb a number of prey items, which these yellow-billed hornbills then will sweep up. In return, they also act as security guards for them by warning them of any potential threats. We also find that the hornbills quite often are seeking out nesting holes where they will try and build nests in. What often will happen is when they find these areas, they will seal the female inside the nest, and once that the female has laid her eggs inside there, the female will break out after a few weeks, and then the chicks will reseal this nest, and then both male and female will contribute to feeding these the young.
So actually just a tremendous scene with the sun rising on the eastern side, the pride of lions all just relaxing. Every now and then they'll lift their head. There's a tiny stretch or a lick somewhere, maybe as a fly lands on their shoulder, but other than that, just a tremendous morning. It's now I got the dawn chorus, so all the birds still waking up, just calling in the distance, and it's just wonderful. Wow. So, just sitting here, I can clearly hear emerald spotted wood dove, crested francolin, and then of course the woodland's kingfisher, clear sign of summer, but all these birds just make you miss the bush so much. And then once you get back and hearing them again, it just makes you appreciate being back here in this wonderful environment. But look at that sunrise.
More happy elephants. This is a different herd. They found a muddy puddle and they're muddy. If you look at all those wrinkles, elephants actually exhibit a myriad of channels that look like cracks. It looks like the elephant lives in the African heat and the skin is cracked. But that's not actually the case. There are true physical cracks of the keratinized epidermis. And what I mean by that is due to an imbalance between the formations of the skin and the shedding of the skin. It's a myriad of physical cracks that they will have. What are you doing? That they will have from birth. It's not a case of these cracks developing randomly due to the heat and the dryness out here. In African climates, no. There's a specific network of channels of these cracks, and they've cracked due to the fact that the skin is not shedding and the rate of skin development at its base is rapid. Oh, is this male trying to... Is he going to mate with her? Or is he just a little excited? There's a male checking out this female. She's put her back legs down. I think she's... I think he's just a little bit excited. I don't think he has the intention here. But bulls can mate with a female in the herd like this. But this is a younger bull, so I think he's maybe just smelling something that he likes, shall we say? Oh. I think we need to keep an eye on this pair. I'm pretty sure it's a female. I'm sure I saw mammary glands. Now they're having a little tussle. Yes, I think that was just young male excitement. Now, going back to the skin. So it's not just random cracks, as I've already mentioned. It's actually deeply sculptured, and it's an intricate network of interconnected cracks. What that means is that the cracks all join. It's a formation, and this is to assist in cooling the animal down. So this elephant's spraying mud on itself, so it'll run through all the cracks. It's not just one crack, then another crack. They're all interconnected. It's very intricate and it's very deep. The cracks run deep, and that's so that they can hold water. It's a boy. He wasn't trying to mate. Sorry, my apologies. He was trying to assert dominance. 2 young boys. So he just got a little bit excited. And he was... Somebody's unhappy. I can't see who's making that sound, though. No one else is reacting. The males are still tussling, and this one's having the best mud bath ever. I thought it was a young female there, but no, I was wrong. It's a young male. And now they're really, really having a tussle. And that one whose penis was extended was trying to jump on the other one's back to assert dominance. Not necessarily dominance, but I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you, that sort of behaviour between young males. And this is why they get ousted from a herd. You see, can you hear? I don't know if you can hear their tusks clanging against one another. Become very boisterous. And this risks danger to the young calves. This is when the females will start to say, you're too big and boisterous. I love you, son, but you're a danger now. It's time to go off on your own. It's time to be nomadic, or it's time to find some other boys and form a little bachelor herd. And that's exactly why they're too boisterous. All that testosterone. So going back to the skin, isn't that fascinating? It's not entirely random. It's not just like sometimes humans' heels crack on the back or the underside of their feet, and we have to use nice moisturizing foot creams. It's not like that. It's not random. It's not spontaneous. It's a specialized, intricate network of deep cracks. You'll have to repeat that question from Connie one more time. Gwen? It's a young female, a young mom. You're asking, why do elephants have excess skin or loose skin? I just went into a deep explanation about the cracks. But I'm not sure if you're referring to the underside. If we look at this female here, she's a young female, but she hasn't actually got much loose skin. It's only really on the underside of her belly, and that's most likely because females, of course, give birth to very large calves. Very large calves. So normally once a female gets a little bit older, their belly will start to sag. And just as any mammal, But there's not really loose skin, it's more to do with the cracks. The bum here, we just look at this elephant's bum, Simon. To the right, the one that's just got his back to that one there. Yes, it's a little bit loose there, and that's again for genitalia reasons. They don't have too much loose skin as a youngster. Once they get older, you can tell that they're older because there will be a lot more loose skin. But again, that's quite similar to humans. They're great big animals, and the females are more affected by this due to giving birth. But the more skin that they have, the more surface area they have, and the larger the surface area, they can utilize that skin to cool down. That's also why their skin is like that. It's all about losing heat. But that wrinkly appearance, the wrinkles are so integral, make it look like they have a lot of loose skin. It's very different skin from humans, structured in a different way, and specially adapted in a different way to help them cool down. They're exposed to the heat constantly. Okay, so we're going to enjoy this precious moment with these muddy elephants. We're going to send you across to Grant with his leopard.
Welcome back, everyone. And our leopard has been jumping around this tree like a monkey on a jungle gym, or a child on a jungle gym. She's been grabbing the kill and moving it around the tree. And she even spotted a lizard at some stage and went after the lizard. But we noticed while she was moving around, her tummy is very, very full. So she was already full when she returned to this Impala yesterday. And she doesn't have much space to eat. And the way that she's lying right now, she's actually got her belly hanging in a gap in the fork of a tree. So trying to get her body weight off of her tummy. And it seems as though she's now taken a time out from her game. If you look at her ribs, the area behind her front legs, you'll see it's moving quite rapidly up and down. So she's trying to catch her breath now. She just finished grooming herself as well. So behavior for leopard to, after it's been busy with either feeding or
Sorry about that. Phinda will be back with us shortly, I am sure. We're still just sitting admiring these elephants. We haven't paid one single bit of attention to us. They know we're here. But Simon, see this elephant that's just on the road here? Oh no, I think he's going to move. I was going to explain something and he's just completely changed his body. He just completely changed his body position, sorry. I'll try and see if another elephant does it. This female's having a great time. Hating they are in paradise. They are having the best time. Now, if you look at this herd, I can see a lot of individuals. Now, if you're the matriarch, and I can't quite pinpoint her from here, this is a lot of individuals to control. You've got youngsters that are very, very needy and constantly after their mom and in need of protection. You've got boisterous boys. You just saw those two males. You just saw how much they were clashing and banging and pushing and shoving, not paying any attention to where the youngsters might be. You've got females that could be pregnant. Oh, quickly over to Tswalu.
Good morning and welcome back to Tswalu. We're currently sitting with bat-eared foxes at a den site, and the three pups have just came out to come and join the mom for a little bit of sunning. If you can have a quick look there, you'll be able to see them. Their ears are quite small compared to that of mom, so I just always love seeing those ears. It makes me smile. It's probably one of the most cutest of all the small dog species. And I just love watching them, how they use those ears. And quite often when they're feeding as well, to just watch them with their heads down, listening for insects, and then starting to dig, and then continuing to walk around, listen, dig. That's pretty much their routine when they're busy feeding, looking for termites and some other insects. To give you an idea, the adult is probably weighing between 3 and 5 kilograms, and the pups may be approximately 1 to 1.5 kilograms in weight. So quite small if you compare it with a domesticated dog species. Oops. Good morning, Sarah. To answer your question on how many pups they can have, it's normally anywhere between 1 and 6, but in this case we can see 3 pups. There they come back again. Good morning. To answer your question, what predators eat them? Unfortunately, a wide range of other predators will kill them. Even unfortunately, African wild dog I have seen killing them. And the reason why predators quite often will kill other predators is because they generally will feed on the same food items. However, in the case of a bat-eared fox, they don't, as they are insectivores. And you'll notice, especially with the larger carnivores, they'll often kill one another's young as well. And just to ensure that all that food resources in that area goes straight to only them. There's a mother's just been joined by another individual. So bat-eared foxes mate for life. I'm quite curious about where the second adult is at the moment. A few days ago we did see one that was here, and then the third individual or adult came in and then was chased off. it's possible that the other mate might still be feeding. I can't believe how fortunate we are to see the pups today, especially all three of them, and showing so well. We're going to stick with them for another while, but in the meanwhile, we're going to link you out to Lauren, who's currently viewing elephants.
Simon's getting us some wonderful creative shots here. I'm very jealous of those bat-eared foxes. But don't tell Darby that. Now, this is a male. This big one that Simon's giving you beautiful, beautiful shots of. And he does keep putting his trunk on her genitalia to sniff. The Hoover maneuver, we like to call it. But that's what they do. Males constantly want to see what state the females are in. They can mate with very, very young females, and he's trying to smell. He's trying to see, is she coming into estrus? Is she receptive? Is she in estrus? I'm sure if she was in estrus, he would not be reacting like that. But that's what they do to the younger females. They just constantly put their trunk on her genitalia and sniff. And it's not very pleasant, but how else would he understand what's going on with the ladies around him? So we've got a big bull right there. Much bigger than the others, you see that? Not a gentleman, not an older bull, but a big bull. And as I was saying earlier, look at this madness. This is a lot of bodies of extremely large size, and that's why you have a matriarch. Just like hyenas, to maintain order, to ensure their social structure. Imagine there was no social structure for elephants, and they all just wandered the landscape doing whatever they please, causing chaos in their wake. The bulls, the hormonal females, the youngsters, the calves were maybe not mothered so intensely, so they're just, well, doing whatever they please. That would not work. It would not work out here. It would be dangerous. So the matriarch's role in both hyenas and elephants is to maintain social order. And it can be easy. This is a large herd, and this is a good example of why they actually do split into kinship groups, because you've got some that are complaining they want to feed. You've got some bulls that are just fighting constantly. You've got some youngsters that are demanding so much. How do you please everyone as a matriarch? You've got to balance. Somehow, you're going to have to balance the needs of everyone. And that's going to result in some being unhappy. Some are probably going to moan. It's not the way they wanted it. They want to go to this waterhole. Why are we not going to this waterhole? So really, the role of the matriarch, that's why she's the oldest, because she's the most experienced. Not only does she understand her land, her environment, the dangers, she also understands how to lead a herd. She also understands how to balance the dynamic. And it profits the herd greatly to follow her. She will lead them to safety and to food and water. But if a herd gets any larger than this, I imagine they would split. This is absolute chaos. So I'm going to check the western boundary today, but you guys are going to go across to Grant and his leopard.
So welcome back, everyone. Must apologize, we keep losing signal, so we are trying our best, but I think this will be our last attempt. And we've been circling this tree, and it's almost like a game of cat and mouse. Every time we move one way, then the leopard turns and faces the other way. So I think she's a bit shy this morning. And she's almost turned back on herself. doesn't look too comfortable, and she's got a big stick right in the middle of her tummy where all her weight is, or where all her food is. So it'll be really, well, it looks uncomfortable, but she's been lying there for a couple of minutes now, so it can't be too bad. Sinak, with regards to a leopard in a tree feeding, she feels very comfortable and safe up in a tree. But obviously being up in a tree has got its challenges as well. She has to balance and use her claws, and so it is a little bit more difficult than feeding on the ground. But with the kill up in the tree, it'll attract less flies and less other little creepy crawlies and insects that might want to come and feed on the kill. So that's a bonus of having it up in the tree. But also up in the tree, she'll only have to really worry about other leopards. A lion wouldn't be too much of an issue for her with this kill in the tree, so she won't have to be on the lookout for lions. But she will try to spend as much time as possible up in the tree, but obviously when the kill is finished, she will get a few more hours of rest, and then she'll calm down. So it depends on the size of the kill as well and how full she is. I mean, this is where we left her last night, and she's still in the same tree with the same kill, which is quite unusual because it's a young Impala lamb, which she would, if she was hungry, she would be able to finish in a couple of hours. But because she's got a full belly, she's waiting for as she digests, then she'll get a little gap in her tummy and she'll feed a little bit more. But her priority is of course to rest. So she's been in this tree for at least 16 hours now from last night. So 16 hours at the moment. I'm sure there's been occasions where they've been up in trees for much, much longer. But she's settled down again now, and she's got a kill nearby. It's nice and cool today. She's got a comfortable spot in the tree. So I think we're going to be leaving her here and going to see what else we can find this morning on Phinda.
Have you been watching WildEarth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. WildEarth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live WildEarth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply. WildEarth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special WildEarth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes WildEarth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a WildEarth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Always good to start the morning by appreciating some of the little things that we can find out when we're on safari. This is a beautiful wild senna, or eland's pea, a gorgeous yellow flower that's quite distinctive. You'll see it popping up all over parts of the low veld at this time of year. And we're actually on our way to try and find a lion when we decided to stop here. Hi everyone, my name is Mike Anderson, behind the camera is Seb, and you're joining us at Eco Training's Pridelands Conservancy. And as I said, we're on our way to get to where that young male lion was yesterday, but on our way we saw this flower and it caught my eye, and I thought, oh, it's the kind of thing that would catch anyone's eye. So I thought I'd discuss it a little bit with you. So this is a naturalized plant that can be found all over the low veld parts of South Africa, and you can see its yellow rounded flowers. It's part of the pea family, and you can tell it's part of the pea family because it's got these beautiful pods, which you can see down here, which are not quite ripe just yet, but those little pods are showing that it's part of the pea family. I don't see too many animals feeding on this, but certainly a lot of small insects like ants are often getting involved on it, looking for the sugary sap, as well as a lot of grasshoppers and other things that I see sitting in them regularly. Now, this plant can also be used by humans now in the Sahel regions of Africa, which are the borderline regions between the Sahara, the dry Sahara desert, and the more wetter Central African areas. This plant and the pods and the seeds are actually eaten as a snack, which is interesting because in other parts of Africa, it's used as a purgative, which basically means that when you eat it, it causes you to clear your system, if you know what I mean. So it's interesting that it's used for that. Now, another more widespread use of this plant, or should I say not really widespread, but more commercially used use of this plant, is that the leaves, or an extract from the leaves, can be used as a hair dye that adds a sort of yellowing effect to the hair. So it's not so dissimilar from another plant that you might have heard of called henna, which gives a reddish dye that are often used to make tattoos on hands in Hindu cultures. So this plant will actually impart a yellowish color, which is pretty amazing. I'm not going to try it, unfortunately. I think I'll leave that to someone more experienced than me. I'm not sure how they take the extract from it, but it's always good just to notice these small things. Now, I've noticed this plant lots in the past, and only just recently found out what it was, so it's really cool. And as you can see... Oh.
Wow, beautiful flower.
Hi, Sassy Kathy. Long time since I last spoke to you. It is a beautiful flower. It's absolutely gorgeous, in fact, this little plant, and it's very widespread at the moment. And if you look around here, it's not the only beautiful plant we have. There's another plant which is actually one of my favorites, which is called a blue seed grass, which is this plant right over here. Sassy Kathy, if you look closely at this, you can see it's got tiny little yellow stamens coming out there of the seed pods. I don't know if you're able to see that there, Seb.
Yeah.
So that is a really, really pretty little grass that is also abundant, and it's one of my favorite grasses, or in fact it is my favorite. And all the grasses right now at this time of year are flowering, which is something people don't often realize about grasses, that they do flower. And so we've got right here where I'm sitting in the grass, there is the blue seedgrass flowering. Speargrass is flowering just over here, although you can't see the speargrass as easily, but the speargrass is flowering just in there. You can see nice purple fluffy little spears. I don't know if I'm making this easy for you, Seb, looking at different grasses. And then at the back, it's going to be very difficult for me to point out for you, Seb. There's one other grass which is also one of the most important grasses in this area. It's called guinea grass or buffalo grass. Now, I don't want to crush any of these plants around here, but just over there, Seb, you see there's a buffalo grass that's flowering abundantly, and in fact it's also all over here in these protected areas. The buffalo grass grows where there's trees and other things protecting it. And actually I was using the grass a moment ago. Where has it gone? Here, because buffalo grass is also really, really good to use for making bracelets. So I don't know if you can see this here. I started to plait 3 of the stems of the buffalo grass. Can you see that there, Seb?
Yeah.
So I started to plait. Let me come a bit closer, maybe it'll be easier. Can I try that?
No, it's fine.
Is that fine just over here?
Yeah.
So you can see I've started to make a plait, and it's very strong. And as long as you keep it supple whilst you're braiding it, it will take on the shape, and then when it dries, it's very resilient. So I'm going to try and see if I can make a bracelet, and I'll see how it goes. It's really easy though. Just do it like this. And you've got to make it sure it's really tight though. Oh, now where was I? Like this, down, over. It's not too difficult. I'm not an expert. There you go, it's pretty simple. So what we're going to be doing now is heading off towards that lion. So in the meantime, whilst we do that, we'll keep an eye out for any pretty plants that we might find. I'll keep braiding this once we find our lion, and hopefully have a lot of fun the rest of the morning. Okay, let me gather all my bits and bobs.
You can make Flora and with Impalas.
Alright, so in the meantime, whilst I get myself all up and ready, we'll send you over to Lauren.
Now we've stopped to admire this herd of Impala. Why? There's quite a few interesting things going on. They were very alert and they're tightly huddled. Hukamori and Tswalu have believed to cross this area, and that's why it's just worth sometimes paying attention to Impala. I have found so many predators through Impala. Now we've got the little creche over here. You see all the youngsters, Simon? There's a lot of lambs here, all huddled together. And then, now I've lost him. Where did you go? I've lost the male. I think yes, well done. There's only one male, so this is the dominant male of this entire herd. He's done very, very well. But breeding herds are generally mobile. So their home ranges are not territorial, but their home ranges will overlap with several different males' territories. And therefore, this herd may move on from this male, but at the moment, he's a lucky one. He won't be mating, it's not the rutting season, but he's got all these ladies. Look at him, lucky man. And he's in great condition, because normally during the rut, which is directly linked to gonadal function, the fat reserves of a male impala will decline rapidly. They really lose body condition, and not by just a little bit, by a lot. They lose all their fat reserves, and that's why during the rut we actually lose a lot of male impalas. They have one thing only on their mind. Sure, I don't need to tell you what that is. They prioritize that over feeding, and they also prioritize that over looking out for predators, and they just completely lose their fat reserves and their overall condition. Whereas females, they actually their fat reserves decline to a complete minimum, believe it or not, when there's milk production. Their energy requirements are at a maximum, and therefore their body condition and their fat reserves are at a minimum. Lactation in mammals is very energetically costly. It takes a lot out of females. So you can see the biology there just between males and females differ greatly. They're all still very huddled together. Are you going to cross the boundary line, or are you not? Do you prefer Djuma? Yes, me too. We're right on Triple M, the western boundary. I think we're going to go into Simbambili today. I haven't been there for a very long time, and check around for the hook and Tswalu. No matriarch, no social structure really. It differs between the seasons, of course, because the rutting season, the males change dramatically, behavior changes dramatically, and the males will fight for rights to the impala. But there's definitely no matriarch. They're gregarious, So they really enjoy spending a lot of time in one another's company, but there's no leader. It's not like elephants where you need to maintain sort of social structure. What the priority is for Impala is to basically stay safe. They're a medium-sized antelope. They're much bigger than Steenbok and Duiker, and that's why instead of trying to live a solitary life and blend in, it's stick together. More eyes, more ears, more nostrils. Be perfect at spotting the predator that's coming. They've already got a sort of camouflage, and that's called counter shading. If you look at their body, you'll see there's a darker colour on their backs, and then as it goes down to the belly, it gets lighter and lighter. This is called counter shading, and basically it reverses the sort of natural 3D effect caused by the sun falling on an object, and lots of species have it, even in the water. So they're already camouflaged to an extent, but the more impala there are more spotters. They have great senses, and they will spot a predator approaching. And when they do, they alarm, they snort, and then everyone snorts. So there's no need for a matriarch, and there's no need for a leader. It's all about feeding and staying safe. But they're very nervous right now. Look at this. I think I'm going to try and investigate what they're looking at, and we're going to send you guys off to another live location.
Good morning and welcome back again to Tswalu. We're still with the bat-eared foxes and the pups. The pups have just disappeared underground. We've just been noticing how Mom will constantly be looking out for potential threats and how the ears are moving. Just a few seconds ago, something was triggering her ears and she just focused on it, and it's incredible how quickly these little pups will respond to her body posture. And as that she focused and looked, they immediately disappeared down the burrow. It can possibly be because of the presence of jackal, which we're hearing in the distance calling. And jackals also do hold a threat to bat-eared foxes. Good morning, Dana. To answer your question, we know that we've been viewing the den now for almost a week and a half ago that they started looking at the den. So it's possibly that they're around about 2 to 3 weeks old already. What I do find fascinating about bat-eared foxes, both with the adults and the pups, is that they can become incredibly playful, and that's what I'm really hoping to see. I have watched them in the past, and quite often they will even use little obstacles like sticks that they will play with. We see a similar behavior with another dog species which we find in the Kalahari, which is known as a Cape fox. Quite often they'll even toss these little sticks and things that they find or bones into the air and then run after them and pick them up again. So, as mentioned in some of the previous episodes, generally we associated play with young animals so that they can learn the essential skills which they will need when they become adults. However, here we have an exception where the adults also indulge in playing. It seems that the female has just moved off into a shade there for the moment. So generally when we see animals in the early morning, they also try and regulate their body temperature by increasing their temperature after a long cold night by moving into the sun. Good morning, Peter. To answer your question, why are they called bat-eared foxes? It's because of those incredibly large ears which they have. As mentioned earlier in one of the episodes, those ears are used for detecting larvae and insects which is underground, which they will then dig out. But also just as effective as we can see with detecting potential predators or threats that might be around the area. Most species of bats also have incredibly large earlobes, as they use echolocation to detect their potential food. So, as mentioned yesterday when we were discussing certain beetle species, bats will then release a click. This click will bounce off the beetle or the insect, which is in mid-air, and then come back, making their incredibly large ears very effective with locating potential prey items. Good morning, Scotty, and welcome to the show. How do they make dens? They can dig for themselves, but quite often what we do find in arid environments like this, where aardvark does come forth, is that a lot of species of animals will actually just utilize the already existing holes which the aardvark has created. And if we look at these burrows, they look like if they can potentially be old aardvark burrows. In general, we find that aardvark will burrow a hole, it will use it for one night, move on, and then never return to that hole. These holes are also used by other species such as jackals, hyenas, Cape foxes, and even the shelduck, which is a duck which will actually nest within these burrow systems. Just lost visual of them. It seems as if mother has now moved into the shade. She's had more than enough of her share of sun. So what we'll find is that the temperature increases after they've warmed them up, but we'll go down underneath the burrows and then go enjoy the cooler temperatures in the peak of the midday heat. An interesting statistic about burrows and burrow systems is that their temperatures can be 14 degrees cooler in the summer, and while in winter those temperatures can be up to 14% degrees warmer. To answer the question with regards to if they can get flooded, yes, occasionally the Kalahari does get exceptionally high levels of rain, but it's not often the case that it will happen. I have seen burrow systems in the past flooding, and a number of species which we normally consider as nocturnal will then come out during the rains when those burrows flood. These include aardvark, jackal, and a number of other species. As all the animals have gone down underneath the burrow, we also started hearing a distant alarm call, but we would like to go and follow up in the meanwhile. Good morning, Laura. That's quite difficult to determine how deep the den is, but sometimes it's several meters deep, and it just depends on how deep the burrow system is, what that aardvark created. Sometimes it can be up to 2 meters or more. Sometimes we find that some of the burrow systems can be even bigger, especially aardvark burrows that has been opened by a species such as porcupine. In the meanwhile, we're going to go and follow up on that alarm call that we heard in the distance, and we're handing you over to Andrew, who's hopefully been able to relocate on his Leopard.
Thanks, JP. So the update on the Hukumuri, so the way you cross into Aratuza, and I gave up there. And then Lorraine, I think she's also following up around Mambile, that area. So I have to change my plan now, come to the far east, where was actually Tandi tracks was seen, and then there's one actually guy that is following up there. So I'm gonna assist him along Cheetah cut line, that area. It looks like also was with their cub. It looks like they say, so that's why it makes me change my mind, come for this side here. And then I'm gonna actually help them around. Hopefully we find her. The ground is so wet, so all we're worried if she's far out of reach in one of the river, then yeah, it's gonna worry everyone. But hopefully, you know, she's near the road. Tracy, so you want to know if it's easy to track when it rains? It is easy. That's where it depends. Sometimes you come across the tracks for that animal you're looking for just after the rain, and that, you know, it's easy to tell for you that it's very clean tracks, that nobody else been on top of them. Could be maybe an hour or maybe 30 minutes ago that animal have walked past the area. But then if it rains, let's say yesterday, it still tells you much about all details of that tracks, so it comes visible still. And then, but it applies the same also when it's dry, or animal those that have walked into a sandy area, where if it's ever too much windy day, then you'll see all these tracks have been covered with sand due to the wind. So yeah, it's actually easy when it's wet. But also many animals, cats, species, they don't like wander around along grasses when the grass is wet, though on the road. So that's why, you know, I'm hoping to, if we've ever found her, she will be either near the road or side of the road, not too far, because the grass is still wet enough, unless if it must for them to move off the road. If she lead that cub to the kill, then that happens, maybe she has to off-road into one of these tall grasses. You know, it's good to have rain, because all the tracks that you keep seeing, so you want to know my favorite animals in Djuma? No, well, animals in general. I always put the Impalas on the first class, and then if it comes to the cats, I understand Leopard is one of them. So, you know, in general, the reason I like Impalas because of, you know, Impala, they're one of a cooperative feeder, and they're a cooperative gathering as well. So they love most other company than one species of company the same as their own. So they would also accept such as a giraffe, there's, you know, a warthog. If you think of warthog, they're a bit close related, but they still love being with them. So yeah, that's my favorite Impalas. So let's check it out to the east, see if we get it right there for everyone.
So we've managed to get to the area where the lion was yesterday. It seems like he's probably moved off. We don't see any sign of it except for a few tracks here and there, but we're sitting at the drainage line itself, just waiting to see if we maybe could hear something approaching or alarming to say the lion is still nearby. Nothing yet. And whilst we wait, I decided to finish off, or at least continue with my with my plaiting or plating that I was doing. As you can see, it's going pretty well. It's this far, but I've created a little bit of a weakness in it. One of the pieces of grass got bent, and it really needs to be held nice and straight. And if you create a bend in the grass, it kind of makes a bit of a weak point there. So you can see it's a nice tight plate. Must I go a little bit further out? Maybe put it over here, Seb, for you. That'll be much easier, I think. So you can see the nice long straight pieces of grass, then my delicious plating, slowly getting there. I did create it wrong though. I should have started with a fold so that I could make a loop this side and then a knot on the other side. Anyway. T-Man, you can make bracelets out of a lot of the plants here. What you really need is something with long fibers. So this grass here has very long straight fibers. You can actually see them as Seb pans across this grass. You can see those long straight fibers. So that makes the plant flexible and resilient. Now, other plants that you can use are things like magic guaris, which I'm sure you've seen before on the show. You can make it with cluster leaves as well as some of the bush willows, the younger branches. These will all work to make types of bracelets with varying amounts of success. Now, I've even used mother-in-law's tongue recently to collect the fibers, and the fibers are amazing in mother-in-law's tongue. If I find the plant, it's a Sansevieria. If I find it, T-Man, I'll show it to you. If you can scrape the jelly wax off of that plant, it looks a bit like an aloe leaf. And then underneath are these very fine, pale blonde fibers that looks just like hair. And you can roll those into long strands, or what do they call it? I can't remember what they call it specifically. But then you can turn that into a braid just like this, very, very strong. Natural fibers are incredible. Remember, before we had modern technologies to do mass-produced cloths and textiles, people would have, if they wanted string or rope or whatever, they would have to make it themselves, or at least get someone who was knowledgeable to make it for them. So they are very powerful. I mean, the pyramids, for example, were built using a lot of human being power, but also with pulleys and ropes and all sorts of stuff, and that would have been created by natural fibers, no synthetics, no mass production. So really, really amazing. All the buildings, anything that was constructed in prehistory would have been using natural fiber ropes. So a lot of the stuff you can use. I don't know if you can see down there, Seb, the tracks in the sand there. I wish I could get closer to you. The dashboard's just in the way. So it's amazing. The tracks in the sand there are really incredible. I wish we could get closer to show you. Even though this lion is young, only a few years old, like 3 years old maybe, the size of his paws is phenomenal. If I put my hand down on that track, it would almost be swallowed by the track of that male lion. Now, he's moved off because he can't afford to stay in one place too long. Because he's a young male, not territorial yet, not calling, not announcing his presence. If his scent gets noticed by a larger male lion, he will be in serious trouble. He's by himself, and so he can easily be killed by a large male lion that might catch him in the territory. And now we did, Seb and I, see 2 male lions not so long ago. Unfortunately, it was after game drive, so we couldn't show you, but these 2 male lions will be patrolling, especially now at this time of year when there's plenty of rain falling, to spray urine and re-establish their territories before other males can move in, like this young male. So he has to be quite nomadic. He has to move around a lot, avoiding detection, catch and kill small things, eat them as much as he can, and then move off before the smell or the hyenas attract too much other attention. Finak, as I was mentioning a moment ago, one of the plants, I mean, for example, most of the grasses will have fibers. In fact, all plants which have all plants have a certain amount of fiber, but some of them have more than others. One of the plants that I've been using recently, that I've discovered has incredible fibers, is the mother-in-law's tongue. Can't remember the scientific name. It's a sansevieria of some sort, and as I was mentioning before, not only to use them for braiding and for ropes, but also to make fire, which is something else I'd love to do for you guys. But when we're on a live safari like this, it's always the case that when you meticulously prepare something that's quite hard work and you think it's going to work and you do it off the camera all the time, and then the moment I try on the camera, of course, it's going to fail. But I would love to show you how to make fire using nothing, not even a stick, well, a plank of wood, but everyone knows that method where you use a drill rod on a place and you do like that. But the fibers of the mother-in-law's tongue mean that I can roll the fibers into a tube, and just literally by applying pressure with the fibers between two planks of wood, like that, it creates fire, which is amazing. It's the easiest method I've ever learned of how to make fire without any sort of flame at all. The friction creates heat from the fibers moving against each other. It's absolutely incredible. So I'd love to show you that as well, Finak. Maybe soon, well, as soon as it gets a bit drier and I can find some mother-in-law's tongue. It's actually very peaceful here, now that the lion has moved off. And we're going to move off as well soon. We don't want to wait too long here and waste the cooler part of the morning. So whilst we do wait here a couple more moments, let's just enjoy the sounds of nature. Raphael, it really is beautiful here, and I'm glad you say that. It always is nice to hear from you guys at home when you're enjoying some of the stuff that we show for you. It gives us fresh eyes, so to speak, whenever we're out in nature. It's important to get that perspective from others. Sometimes we can take for granted the privilege that we have. There's always the Cape turtle dove, or now known as ringneck dove, telling us to work harder, work harder. But you know what? It doesn't ever feel like work, actually. Well, whilst we enjoy this peaceful moment, we'll send you over to Grant, who's got a lovely flower.
Welcome back, everyone, to andBeyond Phinda. And let me just turn my radio down. We're just waiting for a gap to go and look at some lions, which we have spotted. But for now, we're just going to have a quick look at this tree. And you'll notice that at the base of the tree, it's actually broken. And the whole tree has fallen over. So over here, the tree is completely snapped, but there is still a portion that's attached to the root. And it looks as though the tree is still alive. And this is the adult leaf, or leaves, are this blue sort of color. and they've almost got a very rough, sort of heart shape to them, and quite uniform in color. The top and the bottom is very similar in color, but they've got the main vein, single main vein that goes up the middle of the leaf, and then some branching off to the side. And this is a blue leaf guari, or blue guari. But what was interesting that I noticed about this one is, if Owen comes in close here, the new growth, which could be very confusing if you're trying to identify this tree in a book, the new growth is actually red. And I haven't checked, but I will check in my tree book if it says that the new growth of the blue guari is red. But it might be because of the fact that this tree is actually broken and fallen over, and it's starting to regenerate, that the leaves are such a strange color. The new growth leaves are strange color. But yeah, just a slightly different looking tree. And then we've also got a beautiful view that we wanted to show you on the other side of the car. So down in the valley there, these are the open grasslands of the western parts of Phinda, and there are, we've been able to spot some buffaloes, and we do quite often get to see some rhinos from up in these high points, and even elephants and sometimes lions, like we have been able to today. But with this slightly overcast weather, yeah, we've got, thank you, Audrey, for the comment. It is a beautiful view with the slight haze on the mountains in the background. But it is quite overcast today, so it's nice and cool. And there is quite a breeze blowing at the moment. So I'm thinking that a lot of the animals are actually still in the drainage lines trying to get out of the wind. So we're going to start heading down the valley towards where we've seen those lions. And for now, I'm going to send you across to Lauren with the leopard.
Duchess of the West. Kate Middleton, move over. There's a better Duchess in town. Shudulu, everyone. It's been a while since I've spent time with Miss Shudulu. And if Simon can just give you a little bit of a wider shot, you will see that we have a Shudulu, an actual. Oh, big yawn. Shudulu, my dear, why are you not spending so much time in Djuma? Shudulu means termite mound in Shangaan, and we've got a termite mound right here. Simon's going to show you. And a Shudulu above the Shudulu. Look at that. I love it when things in nature make sense. Anyway, we're on Simbambili. So she obviously, Andrew spotted her at Treehouse Dam yesterday. She was very mobile. Shudulu's quite like Kalamba in that she's a busy cat. And she obviously crossed straight back west. She didn't hang around Djuma for too long. Now, she obviously lost a litter of cubs recently, so she's been seen mating again with Hukamuri, who really is her one true love. But what that means is she'll probably push back west a little bit, because Hook's territory is west. Now, last time she was seen mating with Mulwati, and I think that's why she was spending a little bit more time east, and we were finding her on Djuma almost every day. So Shudulu's territory covers Arathusa, Simbambili, but she pushes in a little bit into Djuma from the western side of our property. But fairly recently, she was pushing quite far. Treehouse Dam, Twin Dams, our camp, and that's quite far for Shudulu. But I wonder if she'll just shift back a little bit west again. And look at that delightful stick in front of her face. Do you love it, Simon? It's very annoying. Isn't she beautiful? Shidulu's got quite a unique appearance. She doesn't look like Thandi or Kalamba. Chalad, I don't think it's a choice. The social structure of an organism is not so much a choice. They don't opt to leave. They are solitary animals. It's ingrained within their DNA. They don't have a social structure that involves integrating with other leopards. It's ingrained in them from birth. Once a sort of mother decides it is time for her female daughter to go to independence, which normally happens before the male, she'll push that daughter to independence from a very young age. Even Thandi's cub is a great example. These leopards are taught how to survive a life of solitary. It's not really a choice. It's the genetic wiring of a leopard. Now, there's always those leopards and those organisms across the board that go against the grain. But generally speaking, they're solitary animals, and biologically, physiologically, genetically, they're solitary. Now, I do firmly believe, although they are solitary, which they are, I'm not disagreeing with that, I never have, but I do believe there's a lot more that we need to learn about leopards and their sort of social dynamics. We see here, because we have such easy access to leopards, we see a lot of interactions that go against the grain. For example, Hukumuri, Tingana and Mulwati were all seen feeding on a carcass together at the same time in the same place on Arathusa not so long ago. Now that definitely goes against the grain. We see a lot of interactions that, well, it defies a sort of solitary existence. So essentially they are solitary, but I think in terms of their social dynamics, there's a lot about leopards we've yet to discover. And Tingana and Kalamba, look at that. We see them regularly together, tolerating one another. But essentially speaking, their social structure is solitary, and that's how they survive. Jane, completely agree with you. Shidulu's eyes are mesmerizing. She has a unique appearance, doesn't she, Jane? I mean, from a distance, you wouldn't know who it was. You could think, I can see it's female. There's no golden orbs, but is it Thandi, Kalamba, Sabui, Shidulu? You've got to get closer. But the minute you get close to Shidulu, there's no mistaking this cat for Thandi or Kalamba or Sabui. She's got a very unique appearance, and you're right, Jane, it's in the eyes. And she's a very relaxed young leopard. She was born in October, my birthday month, 2014. So she's 6, in her prime, and she's also very comfortable with humans on foot. She's really just a general comfortable leopard. She was born on Londolosi. And she has suffered loss. She's got Kara. She's raised Kara to independence, who's not yet territorial. But the Kara's a beautiful, fine leopardess. But in Kara's litter, there was also another cub that another female called Moya came and killed. That was a difficult sighting for many. And of course, she's just had another litter since Kara and lost both. One to a hyena, which was my goodness, horrible sighting that Tristan had, and we're not sure what happened to the other one. It's believed there was another one, but no one knows what happened. Now, if you ever want to know more about our leopards, you can actually follow them on Facebook. Sorry, not follow, you can become friends with them. Yes, you can Facebook Shidulu and become friends with her, just in case any of you wanted to. So I'm not going to go anywhere. I've found my leopard and I'm going to sit here and enjoy.
Thanks, Lauren. Good luck there. So we on a cheetah cut line which is a boundary with Torchwood and Djuma. And now Lalamba, it looks like she's been seen in this area. We're just going to see if the lock's going to re-establish. But now we're looking at a tree over here, which, always we're talking about marula tree, and it's always favorite fruit for elephants when it comes to the ripening season for this fruit. And if you look there now, what you see like a round lychee, a fruit which is still a little, pretty much unripe, that color. And then usually when they're ripe, which they disconnect from physical connect and they're down, they fall down. And then all of that, it's actually favorite for the elephants. And they actually, it's kind of a smell delicious if you could smell them from way distances, which makes a lot of easy for the elephants to sense these trees or fruits itself if there are any of the marula fruits around. So it's quite a lot easy for the elephants to locate these marula trees around here. Remember the ripening, since we see the fruit right there, it's going to be anything from February, beginning of February, March. There's going to be a very good season for these marula fruits to ripe. So I'm going to see if I will be able to get that sighting to establish for us.
We're still with Tswalu, but I just spotted something crawling next to me. Look at this. Wow. You can see the wings along the back, really enlarged back legs. Insects have got 6 legs. You see it just gently gripping on with the little piece of foot there. Segmented, enlarged. And if we go up to the antenna is also segmented. I don't know what species this is. If any insect expert out there wishes to help me, please do. #WildEarth. Just looking at those 4 legs, they're positioned forward. Do you see that, Simon, at the front? The 4 legs? I wondered if it was maybe some sort of mantis. But it's extremely large. I really don't know what species this is. There's insects everywhere. The Loveld is crawling. Insects are, of course, always everywhere. We just don't always see them. And summer is their time. Isn't it beautiful? Almost prehistoric looking. I'm trying to really sort of throw myself into insects these days. They are so important. Much of life would really not survive without insects. Believe it or not, they're crucial. They sort of have influence on our ecosystems like a ripple effect on water. Yes, that's a quote. I did not make that up. And they're said to outnumber the grains of sand on the world's beaches. How someone came to that conclusion, I'm not entirely sure, but they did. I just don't know what species this is. I'm not sure if this question is a joke or not, or FC's teasing me, but Rambo, are you asking how many insects we have on Djuma? My goodness, I had no idea. I don't think anyone could possibly begin to even fathom. I wonder if you're referring to species. That would make a lot more sense if you were asking about the species. How many species, once again, I do not know. I think there's a lot of insects that science doesn't even know. From your mosquitoes, to your ants, to your termites, to your beetles, to your cockroaches, dragonflies, damselflies, bees. That would be absolutely impossible. I would love to know, but I'm really sorry. I have no idea how many insects are on Djuma. And with insects, it's a sort of process, learning them all. Learning their biology, how they're divided, how they're split. But in a really simple way, insects are actually split into two variants. One, those that sort of change gradually through a series of molting, and two, those that undergo a really abrupt change in the process of developing from child, I use that word loosely, to adult, and that's metamorphosis. So there's two types. The more simple you break it down, the easier. And they'll have the same body structure. So you've got the head. You can see the head on this one, it's quite small. That's the sensory center. That's where the brain and all the sensory information is going to take place. That's why the antennae are attached to the head. And then you'll have the thorax. That's the middle segment. That's your transport center. So this is where the muscles are that needed to power the legs and the wings. It allows, that thorax is the center that allows the insect to move. And the third, the abdomen, the largest of all segments at the bottom, Simon's given you a beautiful view of the abdomen. That's responsible for reproduction and the gut. That's why it's large. The reproductive sensor sort of organs are held in the abdomen. Sorry, Gwyn, one more time. I think we've got an ID here. I can't understand what you're saying, unfortunately, Gwyn. But we have got an ID. The giant something something. And this is why I enjoy static leopard sightings. One, is easy for me. But two, you can look around and also study the trees and the insects as well as admire the leopard. Okay, giant twig wilter. I'm not sure who it's from. Someone's been very kind enough to send that in. FC can let me know who it's from. The giant twig wilter. Would you look at that? James Richard. Thank you so much. The giant twig wilter. Okay, I'm going to add that to my insect species list. Thank you so much, James. Okay, let's have another look at Shadulu. She has turned away from us, which is not ideal. She's now looking in the opposite direction, so we may reposition in just a moment. I don't know if Fukumuri's been found. He was also on Djuma yesterday, and he's also another individual that's not spending too much time on Djuma anymore, which is thoroughly disappointing. Really disappointing. Oh. Now, we talk about personalities, and I don't worry about anthropomorphizing in that respect, because I am a firm believer that all individual organisms have personalities. They really do. I'm sure mosquitoes have personalities too, but, I've not got to know the mosquitoes yet. Or have I? They do bite me regularly in the worst places. But at least your cats, they do. They really have unique personalities. And Shadulu here, I've already mentioned that she's really relaxed. She loves to be up trees and on termite mounds. That's where the name Shadulu actually came from. She's not a ground dweller. She's arboreal through and through. She loves to be up. She obviously feels safe that way. She feels comfortable, and she can probably scan everything that's going on around her. It's a win-win. Not all leopards you will find up in the trees regularly. We're going to sit here, admire Shadulu, see what else we can find. Oh, big yawn. And we're going to send you across to Grant and his lion.
So we've managed to reach these lions finally. And it's one of the Impala lionesses and her 2 youngsters. Oh, big stretch. Look at those muscles on her sides. They're not very happy looking cats this morning. It's a little bit chilly for them. And so they're just having a lie-in. That cub lying closest to Mom, when he stood up briefly, you could see his belly was quite big. But Mom did not look quite as full. And so I wonder if she might have caught something small and left it for the cubs. The cubs would fill themselves up on that. And that one on the far right is just completely passed out. It's almost turned upside down with its chin in the air. So these lions have been hiding from us recently. Been spending quite a bit of time in the drainage lines, but we've also had rain, so we haven't been able to follow them. Noah asking why lions sleep so much. It is the majority of the time that we see lions, they are doing exactly this. They're fast asleep. It's mostly because they actually don't have anything else to do, so they are trying to conserve energy for when they have to hunt. And it's different for all the lions. So this lioness, for her main focus will be conserving energy for the next time she has to hunt, but also making sure that she keeps these cubs safe. And so she will rest as much as possible. But the cubs have to sleep because, like a young child, they are growing, and so their body uses a lot of their energy to develop muscles and bones and for the lion to grow. And so when they have a full belly, they just sleep and let their body do its work. And then the male lions, of course, have a couple of duties that they have to do, and so they will sleep as well when they're not doing their territorial patrol or not looking for their pride. And so I guess the main reason that they sleep so much is because when they are busy, they exert quite a bit of energy, but when they're not actively doing something, they're probably digesting something which in any way uses a bit of energy, and so that's why they will be quite tired most of the time and spend a lot of their days sleeping. See, Mom's got her head up all the time and it's on a swivel. She's looking around. Boomshak. That's an interesting question. Do animals dream? I'm not sure if it's ever been confirmed, but I've definitely seen lions, cheetah, and leopard sort of flinching. I don't know if you have any pets at home, but when they sleep and you watch them, they get these like twitches, and they almost move their legs as if they're like running in their dreams. I've seen the same little twitches happen with lion and leopard and cheetah, and so I would say that they definitely do have dreams. I'm not too sure if it's been confirmed or not, but I've seen them behaving in the same way as you or I would if you have a dream, with those little twitches those muscular sort of movements that your body does as a reaction of what's happening in your dream. Mostly the paws just twitching and maybe the mouth. So for now the cloud cover is quite good and these lines are lying nicely out in the open, but the sun is just starting to peek through. Mom's got a little vantage point here. You can see that she's up on a ridge, so she's found a little bit of height to scan the surroundings. She might be keeping a lookout for, in this area we would see Inyalas, sometimes even Impalas, and then herds of wildebeest pass through this area. We're going to just keep an eye on these lines and see what they do. They might move from here into some more shade as the sun starts to peek out from behind the clouds. But we're going to send you across to JP, who's got something interesting for you.
Good morning and welcome back to Tswalu. We've been riding around for a short while, see what we could find, and we ended up in this open plains area where we picked up a feather of a curry bustard. That's one of the heaviest flying birds in the world, and these birds have got the ability to reach weights of between 19 and 22 kilograms. Quite often it's argued that there's other birds that are larger that can fly, such as a great bustard. However, I have compared the weights of a great bustard to that of a curry bustard in the past, and they come short roughly by some 2 kilograms in weight. So I just would like to point out the bird for you over here. This is how he looks like. Sometimes people confuse him for a mini ostrich, which they are not. So with the bustards, I find it quite a fascinating group of birds, and we've already seen some of their smaller members, which is a red-crested coron in the last few days, which is responsible for those amazing displays. However, this guy does not go to this elaborate method of displaying by flying in upwards and then doing a backward somersault. He just simply walks around in a field, as he's too heavy to do a backward somersault. And what he generally does is he points his feathers or wings downward, raises his tail and puffs his throat up and down. It probably makes one of the most eerie sounds in the bush as well. The first time I ever heard it, it sounded like a dog that was barking. I could not believe that it was a curry bustard. In the Afrikaans language, we refer to a curry bustard as a hompo. So hom, if you literally translate it, it means glue, and it refers to the gum of the acacia trees. And one of the common acacia tree species which we have in the Kalahari is known as a camel fawn. And quite often we will find that these curry bustards will go and feed on the gum that is seeping off the side of these camel fawns, hence the name hompo. We also find that they do feed on a wide range of other plant as well as animal material, which includes from snakes, chameleons, and a number of different seeds. Good morning, Joss. To answer your question with regards to they grow back, yes, they do grow back. And feathers is also one of the unique things that is a defining characteristic of birds. So what we find is that quite often when feathers are old and they are no more longer functional, the birds will actually molt these feathers and replace them with new ones. In smaller bird species, it's quite a quick process. However, with large birds, such as eagles, storks, it is a progressive process which takes quite a while to take place, sometimes up to a year to do a full molt, especially with the wing feathers. So if we also have a look at these feathers, and we look at the main part of this shaft of a feather, we can often look and determine what happened to this bird. If it was simply molting, in this case it appears that it's just simply a feather that's been molted. If we find long tears along this shaft of a feather, it's quite often a bird of prey that might have taken it out. And if we look at the tip of a shaft and this has been broken down and it looks like if it's been cut by a nail clipper, this is often when mammal predators have taken the bird. So in an environment like this, a corrie bustard can make a great meal. And for the Sun hunter-gatherers, this was an exceptionally nice meal to have. Quite often what they would have done is they would locate a trap, locate a nest, and then build a trap around the nest and wait for the female to come back onto the nest, and then simply just snare her. We might find that this is a particularly cruel practice. However, for hunter-gatherers that has limited resources, it plays an important role for them to find protein, as they can't just live off on plant material on their own. One of the other things that we do find with feathers is that they have neat little tiny barbs. Quite often you'll see birds that they will actually rub their beak through their feathers, and what they're doing is realigning these barbs. In some cases, some bird species will also smear a protective oil from the base of the preen gland onto the oil to make it more supple and to protect the feather and make it last longer. However, with bustards, they do not have a preen gland, and they have got a very special type of powder down feather that breaks down and keeps the feathers supple. We also in general find that feathers vary in different number of colors. Those that are white, they tend not to be as structurally strong compared to feathers that are black in color, which has got a large amount of melanin, which is much more structurally stronger than that of a white feather. So therefore, quite often we do find that the outer feathers or the flight feathers of most birds are actually black in coloration.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off. It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
Welcome back. So one of these youngsters just disappeared down the hill on the other side, and we thought that was maybe the start of their movement down into some shade, but it's popped back up to the top of the ridge, and you see it is panting a little bit. Probably from the fact that it's got a full belly, but also that it went down the hill and back up again. Really, really beautiful condition, both of those youngsters. saw a yawn coming. I'm still very much under Mom's care and attention. Sassy Cassie, I think... Sure, that's a tough one. Like, I have seen lions targeting animals when they're close to the waterhole. But when the soil is wet, they will slip as well. So the thing is that what comes with that wet weather that makes the soil damp, the rain that and usually what make good hunting conditions for lions, rather than the fact that the soil is wet. But that being said, the wet soil will definitely play a role. I mean, if you think about a lion's paw, in pad or toe, that it's almost like a webbing kind of skin flaps in between the toes, and I'm going to quickly send you a crop sighting.
It was absolutely magnificent watching the Duchess jump out a tree. She jumped from quite a height, spectacular. She's now on the move, and I don't know how long we'll have her for. So she's scent marking, exactly what Kalamba was doing yesterday. She's bigger than Kalamba for sure in terms of height, but I'm not too sure about girth anymore. She's about to walk past a vehicle. Excuse the vehicle. She said, "No, I'm going to pose for you one more time." Looks like she's wearing high heels. Of course, that's a digitate foot structure. It's a really interesting evolution of foot structure, and the cats have digitate. So their heels are raised far off the ground, but they're not walking on their tippy toes as the ungulates are, as the antelopes are. But they are walking with their heels raised above the ground, which makes them look like they're wearing stilettos. Excuse the vehicle. She's walking down the road. I hope we can try and keep up with her. But knowing Shudulu, when she's a woman on a mission, and the further west she goes, the more difficult it becomes for us to get signal. But we'll try. She looked a little bit hungry there, very alert. And she's comfortable on Simbambili. She spends more time on Simbambili and Arathuja than she does Djuma, unfortunately. I can see the bushes moving. She's somewhere here. There's another vehicle joiner. I think it might be tricky for us to give you another view for now. I can't even see her. Okay, so we're frog leaping now. We're going to jump ahead, but for now we're going to send you across to JP. He has something rather small for you.
Good morning and welcome back to Tswalu. At the moment, we're just having a quick look at a sociable weaver nest, one of the nest structures that we've pointed out in several of the shows. What we also found is that there's a light pinkish white deposit at the entrance of one of these nest spaces, and this is made by this little pygmy falcon that we have over here. These little birds, they range between 16 and 18 centimeters in size, and they're one of Africa's smallest birds of prey. What we do find is that they are most probably seconded by one of the smallest birds in the world, which is known as a black-thighed falconet, which is approximately 14 centimeters in size, which equates to pretty much the same size as a large sparrow. So what these little birds will do is they will utilize the empty nest chambers of the sociable weavers and then lay their eggs inside there and set them home, as falcons don't build their own nests. They also act as security guards for the sociable weavers. However, every now and then, they also might just take a check. These little pygmy falcons have actually learnt to not need any form of moisture by having to drink, and almost all of their moisture requirements is met by feeding on insects and other prey items. On one of the previous editions of the show, we also mentioned that these nests will also act as an air-conditioned unit. In the peak of the summer, they can be much cooler than the surrounding air, while in winter, they're much warmer than the surrounding air temperature. These nests can sometimes be several decades in age, and sometimes weigh several tons in weight. Quite often what we do find is that they will become so heavy that they also occasionally will break the branches off on these trees. Hence the reason that these birds are often only found in low rainfall areas between 100 and 400 millimeters of rain. In recent years, we've also found that their range has also expanded. And the reason why they've expanded is into areas where there's no trees, and that's due to man-made structures, such as telephone poles and a number of other structures which is now utilized to build their nests on. Do you mind to zoom for me on that feces there? So just one last interesting thing that we would like to point out is another relationship between the tree and the sociable weaver. You'll notice that there's white little droppings underneath a tree. This is created by the sociable weavers. This, combined with rain, will wash these nutrients back into the soil, and it becomes available to the camel fawn again. And meanwhile, we're going to link you over to one of our other stations currently enjoying another sighting.
In other properties, I just feel like... Sorry about that, you're back with us again. Now, unfortunately, the Tswalu sighting got busy and she's also mobile. So we've just left her. We're heading back east to Djuma. But I found a word for you. I love words, I love quotes. I'm not good at the English language, but I love it. I'm going to read it out, Simon. Bear with me. Bear with me. Now, it's a Japanese word. So my pronunciation will probably be awful. If any of you are Japanese or can speak Japanese, please do let me know. But I think this describes tlalamba. Kuchi sabishi. Kuchi sabishi. Kuchi sabishi. And it means when you're not hungry, but you eat because your mouth is lonely. Isn't that just the best? Kuchi sabishi. I hope you all appreciated that. I love collecting words and all sorts of things, and I came across this, kuchi sabishi, and I saw the meaning. The meaning is you're eating, you're not hungry, your mouth is lonely, and I thought, tlalamba. So I hope that entertained you all for a second or two. But yes, we are going to head back to Djuma. I already visited the Djuma clan den and it wasn't active, but just the weather, something's changing. It's overcast, it's chilly, something in the air. The heat seems to have broken, and I just wonder, it may be now active for sure. want to keep following Intima. I want to figure out where she is. Is she denning? Is she not? And the only way we're going to get the answers, of course, is to put the time in, put the effort in. Oh, we have a little bit of issue with this volume. One more time, Gwen.
Thanks, Dean. I'm going to be pulling out.
What is my favorite bush? Bush something. What is my favorite bush something? I am ready to answer this question. What? Can you spell it, Gwen? Bush something. It's my favorite bush. Not doing very well today. I thought you were saying bush hat, and I thought, well, I only have one bush hat. I'm not very good at hats. Okay, I've came the wrong way. Bush hack. Bush hack. I'm not even entirely sure what that means. Gwen, can you give me an explanation, por favor? I would much appreciate this. What is my favorite bush hack? Tricks that I use. Oh, there's a millipede. No. A very busy millipede. Can you see it, Simon? That's a big one. Bush hack. Am I allowed to think about that and come back? I really don't know. I really do not know. Forgive me, everyone. I'm feeling miserably on this question. I shall think about it. I'm not sure I have any tricks. I have lots of food on my vehicle, don't tell anyone. I have lots of snacks, healthy snacks. That keeps me going. I don't know if that's a trick, but it's necessary. Long days out here, your tummy starts to rumble, and my microphone is here. You don't want your tummy rumble to go in the microphone. But I do remember Herbie. Herbie spent a lot of time with me. Wonderful tracker. I learned so much from Herbie, and I love him so dearly. And he really is a massive part in who I've become as a guide, including James and including Jamie. And we were on a walk one day, and I realized that my tummy started rumbling, and it was rather loud. And you know when you think, is that loud to everyone else? Or is it just me? And Herbie goes, I hear lions. And I think, oh my goodness. Did he hear my rumble as the lions? Or did he hear actual lions? So he does it again. My tummy does it again, sorry. And he goes, no, I hear lions. And I was too embarrassed to tell him otherwise. So we looked around for lions that didn't exist, and it was my tummy. So maybe that's my hack. Always have food. Always keep your energy levels up. Be stocked up, and, well, there you go. You will be absolutely fine out here on drive, as long as you eat your snacks. And many of you know my snacks, peanut butter and banana. Okay, I'm heading back to Djuma now, and we're going to send you guys down to Tswalu.
Right, so looks like now I'm on my turn to go into that sighting of a leopard. Sorry about that in Tswalu. And we're driving east. Hopefully we get a guy still with this leopard. I think The sighting since this morning, it was so much of a vehicles that are switching in and there. And then it happens that I was on 3 standby 3, so now we're at our turn to go in just to see what they're sighting like. Just kind of like, there they are. I'm not sure if she's still up in a tree or on the ground right now. Last time the update is that she was up in a tree. If she does that happen, she's still up in a tree, then it's all about maybe looking out around her. Because of course they climb trees for advantage of see far when they're up there. And every time they go down, they've already seen something. Oh, indeed, looks like she's up in a tree. Just gonna find herself a space in there, pose with her. And she's in one of these marula trees. It's actually pretty much a leopard's favorite, you know, and there's actually another vehicles ahead of us. We're just gonna let them pass by. And then I'm gonna now sending over to GP.
Good morning and welcome back again. We're still with our little dung beetle. Unfortunately, we lost you there for a few seconds. So these things happen when you are operating in remote wilderness areas. But let's get back to our dung beetle. So he's busy rolling his ball of dung back to the little hole that he has created. They either use this as a food resource or they will lay an egg in it. So quite often this is then given as a little gift to the female. Not the type of gift that every lady would like, but in the case of dung beetles, this is where they will lay the egg inside, and where the young dung beetle will develop inside. What we also find is that these dung beetles have got a number of strategies which they will follow to orientate themselves. One of these is by simply using the sun, other methods by using the moon, and even believe that they can use the Milky Way to orientate and navigate towards where their burrow is. What I do find particularly interesting is that with a number of dung beetles, there's a number of different strategies how they will work to lay their eggs. Some species will just lay the egg directly underneath the dung or in the dung. Some species will produce a ball and then drag it underneath the dung pad into the soil. Well, the third group that we have over here is a group that will roll the dung away to the burrow that they've already created. Then, as in life, there's always somebody that has to cheat the system. And the fourth group, what we find, is those that steal dung balls from other dung beetles. Dung beetles play an incredibly important role in recycling nutrients and minerals back into an ecosystem. They also play an important role in preventing the spread of disease by breaking up dung of a number of herbivore species. Quite a few years ago, there was a very interesting study that was done, and it's with regards to a relationship with a tiny mite that lives underneath most of these dung beetles, and they keep them clean and healthy. So what happened is that they discovered that a large number of these dung beetles that were sent to Australia to deal with a fly outbreak due to the lack of animals that will break down dung in that country, and to prevent a further outbreak of disease, that these dung beetles were dying off one after the other. And the reason was because they cleaned all of them from the mites before they shipped them to Australia. What I find quite fascinating is that we've probably followed him almost now for close to a distance of 100 meters. We're going to stick with him for a little bit longer, see what he gets up to. And in the meanwhile, we're linking you to Andrew, who's currently enjoying a sighting of a leopard.
flood, JP. So everyone, as we mentioned, that we're responding to this very Kalamba lock of sighting, and see how she's just right posing in this very beautiful branch. And it's amazing, these trees provide such a comfortable branches for leopards to rest on. It seems she don't actually worry too much. Nothing happen around her here. She don't have other company except us. You can see how she even closing her eyes. Sleeping, but she always every now and then checking us out. So it looks like she loves tree this morning a lot, because the last update was that she's on the ground and she'll probably move or maybe climb another tree, which is this one. She's probably responding to calls of rattling collar, the bird calling on a background, which sometimes that bird can alarm call for any other predators around here. Can be another leopard or lion, and that's why she is looking back there. But doesn't seem to be anything, because she would actually able to see from that height if it was anything around nearby. So this could be one of a resting, also hunting technique they got. Get up in trees. So Africa, you want to know how many leopards hold their territory in Djuma. So we got a schedule up there, and we also have a Sabi, which she's have a portion of a southern sector of Djuma, that area of Twin Dam area, and Kalamba. These are the three. We've been seeing another leopard that she comes in and out, which is in Sele, but she often hang around up north. That's the number 4. And then, of course, Tingana, Tandi, she's permanently stick around in Torchwood, that area, pretty much a lot. So these are the 4 that I just count. I could be miss maybe 1 or 2 that I'm not sure about, but these are that I know for sure that they often seen in Djuma, portion of Djuma. But Kalamba physically, she even go right in the middle of Djuma, because Gari Dam, it's her area of operation. Same Tishdul also, she cover up to quarantine back west again. So I think that's where these leopards boundary, separate from one another from that area. And then it's there. So you're asking how do leopards communicate? There's several ways of communications. They do vocal communication, which is sound they make, or it could be maybe one of a territorial when they do that kind of like a ground sound, but vocal. And then there's a chemical communication, which they mark wherever they go. So they urinate, which is usually one of these chemical. The urination itself it's smelly and it holds up that smell for quite a long time until it's washed off by the rain somehow later on. But then, of course, seeing one another from the distance, it's one of those, sight communication, but chemical sound. She's actually taking it easy. And our Princess Kalamba, I can tell you for sure that she's actually a very good success leopard. And she hunts very well when she has to. Oh, something that threatening her, which we're not sure why, but I think it's not very serious that. She's trying to balance. Seems to be looking away. I don't know if she's gonna get down while we're here. So let's just take a moment of a silence here. Listen to all the background sound. So I'm going to stay put here, and then hopefully she gets to come down and show us a little bit of a hunt. I'm going to be sending you over to Grant with the cheetah.
Well, speaking of hunting, we've just found these cheetah, mother and two cubs, and she's just caught a wildebeest calf. And the mother, it's pretty sad. The mother's still standing here and she's crying, but she's just running off now. This has just happened. We missed it, but we heard about them here on the radio, and then they were left unattended, so they were just here by themselves, and it must have literally just happened. You can see they're still panting, and if you look at that cub on the left, it's got quite a lot of blood on its face. They've all taken a pause from feeding because the mother was standing about 80 meters away, but bleating. giving a very, very loud, distressed call, almost like a mooing sound, trying to call the baby. But the baby is definitely not going to be responding. They've already eaten quite a bit. And you see that one lying down now to feed again. So the reason they stopped feeding is just because that distress call that the mother was making, if there are any bigger predators in this area, more especially lions, they would have heard that sound and come to investigate. Oh, look at that face, full of blood.
I would like to go down for break.
If you have any sensitive viewers at the moment, they are feeding, so they might pick up some of the meat, and there is quite a bit of blood at the moment. Oh, look at the behavior there. That youngster is busy trying to pull grass over the kill. The reason they would do that is to cover the kill from birds of prey and scavengers. Now, lady, these cubs are around about 8 months old now, and they will be able to bring down small animals, but I wouldn't say help with the hunt. Remember, cheetah, especially females and youngsters, they don't coordinate a hunt like what you think lions, or like lions. We've seen lions orchestrating hunts and working together. But these cubs will be running with mom when she's hunting, and they will be chasing as well. And sometimes if they go into like a herd of young impalas or even a herd of wildebeests, they will try to pick a target as well. So mom will run and mom will choose her target, and maybe the cubs will pick a target as well. But because of their size, the cubs might back out when they get close enough to actually trying to take down the animal. But they will just chase out of instinct. They still have quite a lot of learning to do. So it would be quite unusual for one of them to take something down, but strength-wise, they definitely can take something like a young impala or even one of these tiny baby wildebeest down as well. That one that's sitting up with the mouth full of blood has just spotted an impala, but it's a ram that's behind us. He's just keeping an eye on it. But we are just going to continue watching them feeding. We're not going to go anywhere for now.
We've came across our lizard friend, except he has no friends. The mongoose are not here. Now, I have been calling this a giant plated lizard, and I think I have been wrong. Apologies. I am more than happy to admit when I'm wrong, and one of you actually pointed this out, so thank you. I really do appreciate it. And I think this is the rough-scaled plated lizard, which makes a lot of sense. You can see as you look at the scales, they look rough. They look as if you were to sort of put your hand and run your hand from tail to head, it would be very rough. Almost like velvet. It's smooth one way and rough the other, if you like. This is not the giant plated, but it's still a plated lizard. Part of the plated lizard family. But I think this is a rough scale, so my apologies. You also get the black lined, you get the giant. There's lots of different types of plated lizards. But this is the individual. I don't know if it's actually fake or whether there's many individuals that are fake, but I think it is. I think this is the same individual that inhabits this termite mound. And they've got really obvious scales. And they're not overlapping, if that makes sense. They're very square and they're next to one another, almost like bricks. When you look at a wall, they don't overlap. Either way, gorgeous, gorgeous lizards. They can store fat in that tail just like crocodiles. Plenty reserves. So I think I'm going to try and drive past and make sure he doesn't disappear into the mound.
Right, so we now have to reposition here. And what we discover, it looks like we can see how belly actually she's got right now. It's all full of belly. And then talking to the guys, they say that she was on a kill, but we don't know what was it. So the guy didn't actually mention what it was, or whether it's still there where she was seen last time. So this looks like it's the second spot that she's at right now. But you see how she paints, like that. It looks like she definitely eaten. I was talking about earlier that she's a good hunter, Kalamba, so she's good at it. So it happens maybe whether it was a duiker, whether it was a young Impala, whether it was a steenbok, but to make this tummy expand like this, it's got to be an antelope. We know they hunt birds, they hunt anything they could, these squirrels and mongoose, guinea fowls. But this is not part of the guinea fowls. It's actually a way too big a thing that she had eaten there. Or she probably maybe spent a lot of time in whatever it was that kill she had. But also the scavenger, so they can steal from one another. True, yeah, indeed. It's you're 100% right. Look at also how she try and breathe, but also she has to also balance herself, and at the same time she has to close her eyes, which is probably take a bit of a sleep. The reason she got up here with this full belly is that she don't want to be disturbed. And there, she trusts very much that it's safe away from hyenas and most lions. Unless if the same species came down here, and then of course another leopard will climb up there. So size of the prey they would hunt, apart from the steenbok and these grey duikers, and pretty much fully grown Impala, she can still bring it down. And she can still bring down the size of a warthog. And the baby, a kudu, that was waterbuck calf. but though even she wasn't able to put up in a tree. So we're going to stay put, and again I'm going to be sending you over to ground with a cheetah.
Old Boomer Loop and cheetah and 2 on a wildebeest calf at Hippo Dam. Welcome back, everyone. And the 2 cubs are just grooming each other at the moment, cleaning the blood. So we haven't had too much of a, or too good of a look at that carcass. And there are vultures descending. Oh my word, I haven't looked up yet. There are so many vultures coming down. There was a tawny eagle that came past just after you left us last, but I think the vultures have spotted the carcass, which is what that cub was trying to do. It was trying to cover it with grass. Zandria left it unattended off Old Boma Loop. There's a Gwari branch on Old Boma Loop. There's a marabou stalk coming in as well. Oh, and there's the mom. The mother wildebeest is back. She's also seen all the commotion happening here. Dice, that's a good question. Who will win between the vultures and the cheetah? So for now, you'll see the vultures landing in the trees and the surrounding bushes around us. And they will actually wait until the cheetah move off. I'm just looking at the condition of the vultures to see if they have full crops or not. And it looks like they're all empty. But they will wait at first, but as their numbers grow and grow, there's now a 3rd marabou stalk that's coming down, and as there's more and more of them, they're going to start pushing a little bit closer to the cheetah. But I'd say once there's about 30 or 40 vultures, they will drive the cheetah off. Fortunately for the cheetah, there are 3 of them, so the vultures and storks will be a little bit more intimidated than if there was 1 cheetah. Oh, there's all sorts coming now. There's a couple of pied crows, which you might hear. How's this big marabou here? Yeah. So that cub's attempt of covering the carcass didn't work. It literally took a few minutes. But I think most of the soft and prized meat in terms of the cheetahs, what the cheetahs prefer, I think they've eaten most of it. When they picked up the carcass once or twice, it did seem like most of the meat was gone. It seemed to be the skeleton mostly that was left behind. Jamie, So at the moment she's looking in the opposite direction to the cheetah. So I'm sure she's already thinking about going back to the rest of the herd. She will unfortunately mourn for a little bit, maybe a couple of hours, but she also knows that life goes on and she's going to have to just carry on. There will be another season where next year she will be able to give birth again, and hopefully she has some more luck with her next calf. She will want to get away from the cheetah. The fact that the cheetah are still here will deter her from coming any closer. And by the time that the cheetahs or even the vultures have finished all the meat, she will have moved off by that time. She's not going to wait until they're done. I think what she's busy doing now is checking this entire area, making sure that her calf is not around, by some chance managed to get away from the cheetah. That's her biggest concern, is she's trying to check if there's any chance that her calf made it, but she won't put herself at risk. And so she won't stay here for too long. She needs to try to get back to the rest of the herd. Oh, you see that cub on the right hand side that's just sat up? When he lay down, I think that is the young male. When he lay down, his belly was very full. I think he got the most out of that carcass. And he was the last one left, standing above the carcass. So he's getting to an age where he's definitely going to be, well, you can see a slight difference in size between him and his sister. So he's definitely out-competing her when it comes to the amount of meat they get at a kill. But he will also be competing with Mom already. Seems like most of the birds have now come down and landed. So we're just going to stick around here because I want to see what is going to happen if the birds start coming any closer, or if the cheetah move off, or maybe go back to that carcass to finish off the last bits. And while we wait here, I'm going to send you across to Mike with a leopard in a tree.
Right, so we're also still in this position of the Stalamba, and as she's right up in its tree over here, weather changed for us a little bit. Like I said, it's not actually like what it was this morning, so it's pretty little cloudy coming from the south. We wouldn't surprise if we receive shower midday or before midday. So cats, most when they paint, it's how they digest. So what happened, all food squashed the lungs pretty much. And then all that just squeezed into the one position. That way she has to control herself. And the probably end of the day, if she don't return to feed and whatever it was, and then she will be less painting by the afternoon. At this stage, she's gonna only hunt if it's necessary, if anything available right now. Today, so you're asking if leopards are active during the night, tomorrow, and the day. So they are nocturnal, just like lions and those hyenas. but when they want, they do move during the day quite a lot. So it's that, especially specifically lions and leopards, when they do that movement during the day, and it's a waste of time. So they waste a lot of energy because it's a very small chance for them to be able to succeed in killing you, because they're going to do that movement due to hunting. So, but if they also disturb in the area where sometimes, there's a fight between two male, or then of course if you find them, move seriously to get to somewhere away from one another. So yeah, of course they do move during the day and at night, but they are nocturnal. So maybe you can see the beautiful tail hanging. And every now and then she would switch position, face the other side whenever she feels like. Maybe come down. Where she is right now, we're in a high ground where there is this puddle of water that's stuck around here. And the water station, it's actually way far east of here. And another one, it's actually on the west. That's a twin dam. But before there's a lot of a puddle of game naturally, or water hole that she may drink whenever she wants. Leopards, you see a lot of times they prefer marula tree specifically because the tree, it's got a very soft bark. It's actually a thick layer, soft bark. It's easy for leopards to actually use their claw to get up into this tree very easily. Sometimes you see them do that, carrying a heavy whole impalas up in a tree, immediately away from the ground. They can climb other trees as well, but they prefer marula trees specifically for So I'm going to be staying in Putia, sending you over Lauren with her dragonfly.
I'm at my favorite pan with my favorite insects. Although I say that, I have a lot of favorites. I am aware that I am not loyal when it comes to favorites. But the dragonfly really is. And look, I don't know if any of you know this species. Bright red at the front and a black and white striped body. It's beautiful, and Simon's doing an incredible job of keeping up with this individual. Perchers. Short, fat body. Definitely a dragonfly, not a damselfly, but they are very closely related in the group Odonata. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's two variants of insects. Now, with dragonflies, they have a nymph stage. And in the nymph stage, they actually live in the water when they first hatch from eggs. And they'll live in the water for about a year. So they're aquatic. And then, well, they hunt using a very special appendage called a labium, not related to human labium. Very different, and it's more like a weaponized lower lip. That's what they describe it as. That's how they hunt. And they sort of tuck it against their head. It's almost like, let's just say a bent elbow, and they'll shoot it out suddenly when they want to grab some food, and they impale it. They actually impale their prey and they pull it back to the mouth. Now, the labium This bent elbow is related to the butt, I'm afraid. The anus parts. No, it doesn't sound too pleasant, but it's remarkable. The biology is remarkable. They are nothing like the adults. They use their rear end to get food, to breathe, and for locomotion. Can you believe it? And then they undergo a very, very radical transformation, where they're no longer aquatic. They're no longer aquatic and they become aerial hunters, magnificent, expert aerial hunters. So the sort of transformation that they go through is beyond words. Now, the adults are said to only live anywhere between a few weeks to up to a year. So they've got a really short lifespan as an adult. But as a nymph, as a sort of aquatic version, youngster, they can live anywhere between 1 to 6 years. Has it disappeared on you, Simon? They tend to sort of, I can see one right here at about 2:30. They tend to fly and then come back to the same blade of grass, fly and come back again. Yes, Bernie, the wings are so delicate and beautiful. There you go. I think you've got it in the center frame. There we go. Perfect. Yes, they're so delicate, but incredibly powerful. They can move their wings independently of one another. Fly forward, backwards, upside down, hover, which is really unusual. Look at that perfectly positioned blade of grass. That's almost like the sticks in front of Shudulu's face. Now, if any of you do know the species, please do send it to me. I'd like to start a dragonfly species list and get a little better at myself at identifying them. I can identify a butterfly, but I do struggle with dragonflies, and I'd like to compile our own little Djuma dragonfly species list. I'm all about the lists. Hear the sounds of the weavers. You know, it's taken until the week of Christmas for the weavers to come back here. They were not here before then, but I'm glad they've came back to this pan, filling our ears with the most beautiful sounds. So as I enjoy it, we're going to send you guys across to ground.
So the two cubs have just stood up and they're looking towards where there is a little pan of water, but they're just keeping an eye on those big marabou stalks that are up ahead of them. But after their meal, I'm quite sure that they're going to head towards that little pan to have a drink. Looks like there's also some vultures a little bit lower down, closer to the water. And shame, they are still watching them. The mom is down at the water hole as well. They are slowly making their way towards the water. And the storks have got an eye on the cheetah as well. I think while we can, let's move around. Oh, the cheetah have sat down. Well, the one cheetah has. Okay, we're actually going to sit tight because there's a white-backed vulture. Oh! Look at that cheetah. Oh, and Mom is calling now. Go ahead, it's Grant. Bruce, you can join us as a third. Mom made a little... Derek, you still making your way as a second? I agree, James. We have been spoiled with spots. I'm very, very happy to be able to have shown you Cheetah and Leopard on Phinda. Look at the cubs and look how fat their bellies are, or full their bellies are. And even Mom's belly is really full, which is interesting considering it was just a young wildebeest. I didn't see them earlier this morning, so maybe they had already slightly full bellies. Maybe they ate something yesterday or even early this morning, and this little wildebeest was just like a top-up. So Mom made a little contact call when the cubs got a fright. There was a whiteback vulture that flew really low and came down almost like it wanted to land, and I don't think it had seen the cubs, and as it went over one of the cubs, it got a big fright. The vulture got a fright and turned and changed direction. Then the cub got a fright and actually chased the vulture. And then Mom gave a call to say, come back, because the cubs were wandering a bit far away. Giving each other a little bit of attention. Mom is grooming the one cub at the moment. She's actually lying right on top of it. It's special to be able to spend time with Cheetah, especially a mom and cubs. I just want to see what's going to happen, because it did look like there was still meat that the cheetah would be able to eat, and they're not moving off. They're keeping an eye on all the vultures and storks around, and they're reluctant to move away from the kill. They know as soon as they move away, all those birds are going to move in and make light work of whatever's left of that wildebeest. But they all seem a little bit restless now. Get that one youngster kicking Mom in the head. Katie, cheetahs have got very, very good hearing. So their smell, hearing and eyesight are very, very good. They depend on their senses for survival. And being able to hear is vital. So they are the only cat that's actually evolved to be able to sleep with its head up. So if you look at how Mom is lying right now, Mom is the one, she's the only one lying down at the moment. She's got her head almost at a 90-degree angle to her spine. And you'll notice that both her ears are up. And she's able to actually sleep like that, so that both her ears are still able to listen out for danger. And they need to be able to hear the sound of of a potential threat coming towards them. So their hearing is very, very good. They can also hunt using their hearing, so without even seeing an animal, they will be familiar with what the sound of an Ngala, for example, walking through a thicket. They will know what the footsteps and the bushes brushing against the side of that Ngala. They will know what that sounds like versus what it sounds like for a rhino or a buffalo. So they'll know if it's potentially dangerous or if it's potentially a hunting opportunity. lots of grooming, especially after a meal, because they get blood. Because of the way that they feed, they have to put their head sometimes right into the carcass. They get blood all over their faces and under their chin. And so once they've finished a meal, they will groom all that blood and little pieces of meat off of one another. And I think they're quite lucky that it's still overcast at the moment, because I can feel it's starting to heat up quite a bit, and you can see them panting from moving around, but also from feeding. So feeding, you can imagine for a cat it's quite difficult. They only have their mouth. They can use their front paws, but they have to do all the work with their mouth. Now they don't chew, but they actually have to cut off those pieces of meat, and that requires quite a bit of effort. Also, their breathing is quite restricted when they are feeding. They can only breathe through their nostrils, and so it takes their breath quite quickly. Can hear some Jacobin's cuckoos calling behind us. It's almost like the two cubs are the sentries now. They're both on guard while mom rests. See how they're facing in different directions? And that's one of the benefits for Cheetah when the females have got cubs, is that they tend to be able to cover more directions, looking out for danger and any threats, and even for prey. Maybe one of the cubs spots something, and then mom will be able to have a look and see if it's worth going to have a closer look. So I thought we might see a little bit of action here, but it seems like it's calming down again, and it might be a while before anything changes, yeah? But we'll just stick around and see what happens.
WildEarth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special WildEarth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes WildEarth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a WildEarth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Moritz, and I come to you live every day from Tswalu Kalahari here in South Africa. My favorite thing is probably the predators, and as you can see, we're looking at some of them right now. These are the kings of the Kalahari. Spending time with the cats, it's just a privilege, and I love their behavior. You know, the more that you look at them, just the power and the sheer beauty and elegance of them.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome to my car. This is Wendy, and she's my favorite. She would love to have your name engraved on her so you can be with her every single time she goes on a safari here in Djuma. If you become a WildEarth Explorer, you will have the opportunity to buy an engraved tag which we will attach to her. We will make sure to send you a digital picture to show you exactly where you are sitting on her. You will have front row seat in every single sighting.
Hello, boy. You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy. Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
So Mama's just been rolling around. She has yawned once, and it is now starting to get quite a bit warmer. So let's see what happens. She might decide to move towards some shade. In the sunshine, yes, cheetahs do hunt in groups sometimes. So remember, if there are brothers in a litter of cubs from a female, those males will stick together. They will form a coalition, and that's when you'll definitely see cheetah hunting together. But also towards the end part of the cubs being with mom, just before they become independent, they will definitely hunt together. They don't, like I was saying earlier, they don't really orchestrate a hunt like lionesses do. They don't work together regularly. But maybe if mom and the cubs are stalking towards a herd of impalas or nyalas, and they give chase, they will each pick a target, and sometimes if it's a mom and two cubs like this, they each pick a target. Maybe 1 out of 3 will be successful, then the other 2 that are unsuccessful will then search for the third one, and the third one will spend a few minutes suffocating the prey, and then it will give depending on how greedy it is, it might feed a little bit first, and then it will give a contact call back to the other 2 cheetah to let them know where it is. And the other 2 that were unsuccessful will come speeding in and join in the feeding. With males, though, they can definitely orchestrate a hunt. They will give chase and almost run in like a relay sort of fashion, trying to tire the animal out, but they will also work together, use their combined weight to bring down bigger prey. So something like a wildebeest, an adult wildebeest will be off the cards for a single cheetah, but even as little as 2 males, maybe 2 males, but 3 males definitely can bring down a wildebeest. Oh, now we're getting a look at what's left at that carcass. It seems like they've eaten the back half, and it looks like the shoulders, neck and head are still left. And they are now getting into another bout of feeding. Mom was trying to cover it up, and the cubs were having none of it. They started trying to feed. Let's see. Once again, Mom covering it up. Sorry, Gwen, I'm going to ask if you can repeat the question for me. I didn't hear it. Oh my gosh, look at this. Boleng, I think Mom is moving the kill now towards some shade. And the cubs think it's a game. Boleng, the male cheetahs are certainly territorial. And they will actively walk around and mark their territory. Female cheetahs, no. They are not territorial, they just have a home range. I have to snap a quick pic. And so females will only fight if they do encounter one another, but they usually tend to avoid one another. whereas males will actually physically fight with one another for the best territory, and they will go out and they will mark their territory like we know lion and leopard do. Whereas the females, they actually don't mark their territory. However, if a female is coming into heat and she comes across one of the spots where the male cheetahs have marked their territory, she will urinate there, not as a territorial marking, but to leave her scent behind for the male. And the male will be able to smell that urine and tell that she is coming into heat, and he will be able to track her down by following that urine scent. How incredible is that, the cheetah carrying the kill? So I'm going to move us forward a little bit, so bear with us. But like I was saying, it looks as though she's heading for some shade. The sun has started to come out, and it is getting much, much hotter. And you'll see just behind Mom, it's quite a dark thicket. It's going to be much, much cooler in there. Oh, and we're going to lose her. Okay, she's left the carcass just on the edge, which is much better in terms of not attracting any birds, but I think the damage is already done. There's already a lot of vultures and other birds of prey in this area. You can hear the crow calling behind me, and but they're not going to go right inside there, so she's trying to take that kill right into the thicket to make sure that they won't come and try and get at that kill when it's in the thicket. And they're all just looking around at the moment. It seems like this cub is not sure what to do. And if you see just below the backside of that cub is the brownish color of that wildebeest.
This program features live coverage of an African safari